Now, in this vlog, I will mainly focus on the elements that shape business culture, the impact that these elements have on your customer centricity, and we'll also look at the ways you can implement a positive customer-centric business culture through these elements that I will share. Now, let's start with the main element that molds business culture. One is leadership. Just as I've been talking about, at the core of good business culture, at the core of every successful company, every successful business is a leader. And leadership plays such a critical role in how you mold your business culture. So a great leader, as I said, ought to be visionary, very influential, and one that encourages open communication, right? And your employee should not be afraid of reaching out to you. Your employee should not be afraid of, calling you and telling you this has happened and seek your advice on how to go about things. However, there are those leaders who have really tried to ensure that there is a very big boundary between them and their personnel. It could be for personal reasons, it could be just your way of how you do your business. However, ensure you're that type of leader, then create someone who acts as a leader on the ground. Create someone who is visionary on the ground, someone who can take charge. Now, it is important that as a leader, you have the mindset of influencing your personnel. It's important as a leader, you have that mindset of being visionary. Yeah, you know what you want to achieve, maybe in the next 5 years, and you have all these goals and objectives and a strategy in place. As a business owner, just try to understand, does your culture align with the goals that you want to achieve? Does it embrace, does it help, is it accommodative to that? Because if your culture is not accommodative, there's a possibility you might not be able to achieve. And why are we saying this? As a leader, you have the ability to set precedents of how you want things to be handled, right? So let's say you want to ensure that you've increased your revenue and sales by 3 times what you have in the next, 1 year. You have to ensure that you've created the right steps, or rather the right resources. You provided the right resources. You provided the right channels. You've basically provided all those elements that will assist this personnel to reach that goal. And you can only do that if you've created a channel of open communication. So why do I say open communication? Open communication allows you and your personnel to be able to freely interact in matters in matters that affect the business, matters that influence the business, right? So your personnel has that freedom to even tell you, hey, hello sir, we tried this out, and in all honesty, I don't feel like it will bring in the fruits that we are thinking it would. Can we try this out? Or hey sir, I saw our competitor is doing this and it's actually working. Can we try to also implement such? The only way you can have personnel that are that free with you, that free to share feedback, is if you've created that channel of open communication with them. If you are that leader who is able to go sit down with them and tell them, hey, you guys, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Do you feel like there's any additional thing that we can add, or anything that we can implement in our business to ensure that, we are on the right trajectory? Yeah, if you are able to create such channels, you've embodied a culture that allows for open communication, not only between you and your personnel, but also between them, because they now realize that they can also share ideas freely with each other. Yeah, and it brings so much cohesion within a company, where people can easily collaborate and easily do things together to ensure the success of the company. So it's really important to ensure that you as a leader or as a business owner are creating such positive platforms, such such open rooms for communication. You can probably have an open door policy where someone can just knock and say, hey sir, we'd like to have a talk. Or you can create meetings, frequent meetings, monthly meetings, where you have a sit down with your people and you share things and you also communicate with them, and you also learn to know what things they're struggling with, learn to understand them, learn to know what's happening on the ground. Don't be the leader who just delegates, but you don't take time to understand what's happening on the ground. Okay, and that is how we often hear of toxic work environments. Some people just go to work, just to ensure that they get that bread at the end of the day, but they are really not aligned with your goals and objectives as a business. And the reason that happens is because most of the times they do not have a clear understanding of even what your business is trying to achieve. All they know is that they need to make sales. Which is quite unfortunate. There are people who will hire personnel one day, just give them an idea of knowledge on the product, tell them to sell. Just that they don't even want to understand, how did you start? What did you start? And how your business has peaked to come to this level. I really appreciate a certain company I worked for. And the reason I appreciated them is because the interviewing process and the onboarding process was such a very critical thing for them. And I remember I was really in awe because of how they took their time. And this time was not taken by just anyone. The people who were taking me through all this were the MDs of that company, right? And a big shout out to them, Dennis and Victor of Green Group, because they really helped me out in understanding how this can be very influential. So what happened is I just joined the company, and the MD calls me in for a meeting. So I expected it to be a very small meeting where they tell you, hey, this is what your job, this is your duties and all that. So what they do is they have this PowerPoint presentation. And in this PowerPoint presentation, they basically took me through when they started and all the way to the vision they had. So it was quite an elaborative PowerPoint where they were explaining what their visions were, what goals they had in mind, how they started, what attitudes and what values have led them to be where they are now, and attitudes contributed to their growth. And it was so good. At the end of the meeting, I was like, wow, I really want to be part. I want to be part of that agenda. I really wanted to be part of that growth. And with that came that willingness to be resourceful, willingness to be able to share ideas. And the fact that I was even doing this with the MD was the one doing all these presentations, I knew and I could feel that this person was open to feedback. This person was open to me sharing any ideas that I had. And it was quite one of the easiest jobs I had, because I had the freedom to express myself. I had the freedom to share ideas, to even, go and say, hey, I feel that this might not work. And the MD will be like, hey, this is quite a good idea. However, because of this and this is the reasons this will not work. And what they're doing by that is that they're saying that is a good idea. However, we know it will not work because of this. They're not putting down your idea. They're not just saying, no, it's not, it's not possible. They're explaining to you why it will not work. And such things are elements that really shape a business culture in so many ways. So you cannot preach empathy if you lack empathy, right? So as a business that deals with where customers are your main source of income, where you really rely on customers, you have to preach what you see. You have to be the person who practices the values and the attitudes that you have put there, the attitudes that you have created. You have to be the person that sets precedents for all that to your personnel, so that they can embody the same when they're dealing with clients. So now, knowing how leadership can play a vital role in shaping culture, how do you use your leadership to create a customer-centric business culture?